I'm Nefertiti, and I'm coming here to tell you about the most exciting experience that I've ever had in my life. Um, Psychedelic experience, out of this world experience, psilocybin experience. Um, I don't know, it's almost one of those experiences that you can't even put into words. Um, Let me just start with describing the whole experience to you, the whole trip to you. So, first of all, I didn't go into this blindly. I went into it with a shaman guide, and I think that's one of the most important things that I want to say to people is that to get the real benefits from this plant medicine, the medicines that the earth produces for us, you have to do it with number one, the most upright, righteous intent, and you need a guide because when you enter that world, it's it's like nothing you can imagine. I mean, movies, other people's stories do it no justice until you experience it yourself. So I definitely had a shaman guide with me. So I took the medicine about 12 o'clock, and um, about 12:30 it started kicking in. In fact, this is my little meditation area, my meditation room, and I was actually facing this picture. And so when these orbs of chakra color started moving, I knew stuff was about to get real. So I just sat there and I closed my eyes and I went into meditation. I was already there meditating before that moment, too, also. I had a whole vibe going on here. So I closed my eyes and I started meditating, and the colors started getting really vivid behind my eyelids. And I'm like, wow, this is really beautiful. And I remember getting the feeling a little weird, and my head started getting this tight sensation around it, but it was an intense pleasure. Although it was a tightness. It felt really, really good. So I was just sitting there enjoying the feeling and enjoying the light show that I was seeing behind my eyelids. And then I started seeing some images. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. I'm believing that I'm into it. So I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Like, okay, I'm just looking at the images, enjoying them, trying to see what I can make of the different images. Some of them were places, some of them were people, some were people I recognized, some were people I've never seen in my life. I thought it was funny that a couple of people that I admire, I seen their faces. And so, okay, I'm just enjoying the experience. And then all of a sudden, everything goes black. And this voice says, enjoy the darkness. Don't be afraid of the darkness. And I felt comfortable. The voice was very soothing. So I was thinking about things that I had heard about the medicine, and then I was thinking about all type of things that I wanted to remember, so that I can tell the people, my friends and family that I had shared that I was going to have this experience with. In fact, a sister of mine was witnessing the experience. She was there with me. She wasn't the shaman, but she was a witness to the experience. And so voice was speaking to me and telling me to enjoy the darkness. And I was really, really enjoying it. And I'm like, wow, okay. I'm absorbing all of this. And then the voice comes in louder and she says, you're not going to be able to do this way. And I actually, in my mind, like I respond to the voice. And I'm like, do what this way? She said, you're trying to be in control. She said, this experience is not for them. This experience is for you. And I'm like, okay, so now I'm kind of tickled because I realize I'm having a conversation with a voice that's in my head. And still, I didn't feel afraid. I felt comfortable enough to keep talking to this voice. And so images started flashing in my mind of like giving me kind of like visualizations of thoughts that I had about how I was going to take these memories, and I couldn't wait to tell my sister and my friends. And it's like she was showing me these images, and the feeling that was coming with it was like, no, you have to let these ideas go. And so I took a deep breath and I said, okay, I'm going to let that go. And so just when I did that, a woman's face zoomed in. It's like my eyes were closed, but it was if we were looking face to face. She was right up here in my face. And she's hard to describe because she was definitely beautiful, She was calming. She like appeared. She was like black, but yet she had streaks of every color going through her, like every color of the rainbow. Um, she also like kind of changed into every nationality, every race of woman, white, black, Indian, what we call the Native Americans. Um, well, then she zoomed back, and it's like she was just looking at me. And then she went to like come at me full speed, but by the time she reached me, she was just like an orb of light, and she went inside of me. And I remember that feeling just made me start laughing uncontrollably. And then I was laughing because I couldn't stop laughing. And I'm like, oh my God, this is real. Oh my God, like the stories are real. This is the stuff I hear them talking about in the videos. And then all of a sudden, she is like moving around inside of me, and I feel this, but at the same time I'm starting to have different visual things go on, and I'm seeing people of different races. I remember at one point it was all white people there, and I remember thinking, why are all these white people here? And then right when I said that, they changed to a different culture. And then I went to a moment where there was like it was like an oppression scene, a slavery scene, a torture scene of black people, like I seen. But the thing about that is I felt their pain. It was like no movie I ever seen ever did it justice. It was like I was there. And I remember at that moment I started crying. And then just when that happened, warrior African people showed, like African people with like tribal things on their faces and shields and swords, and they're like marching, and I don't know, it's like the snapshots were coming and going so quickly that it just looked like they were just either celebrating or heading into war or celebrating a victory of a war. I don't know, it was exciting to see. And then all of a sudden my mother appeared. And she said, why are you looking for me, Shonda? I'm everywhere. And I remember at that moment, all this is going on in my head. So my shaman doesn't hear any of this externally. And my shaman says, LaShonda, can you hear me? And I'm like, yes, I hear you. And I'm welling up with emotion because I'm looking like, is this really my mom? Because at this point, my mother's face started turning into so many different women. And again, women of different nationalities. And then she kind of like melted away. And my shaman says, LaShonda, how are you feeling? And I said, I'm feeling good. And she said, are you communicating with your ancestors? And then she says, have you seen your mother? And I said, yes, just now. I said, she asked me, why do I keep looking for her? She says, LaShonda, I'm everywhere. And it was like saying that sentence, it broke down a level of emotion for me. And then right when that happened, when I had that emotional breakdown, now I thought, again, I was already in deep. So I had that emotional breakdown, and when that happened, things got really intense. I had that emotional breakdown, and then the next thing I know, ancestors were everywhere, and it's like the way that they come to you, it's like the visualization of them is completely mental. It's like some of it is memories, and some of it is pictures and images that you think you've never seen before, that you never have seen before, but they're all recognizable. It's like I seen younger pictures of my grandparents, but I knew it was them when I seen the images. So it wasn't like the images themselves were talking to me, they were just images, but the voices of my ancestors were coming from everywhere. And it's like, without me even intending to or consciously trying to, I was responding to them. It's like, oh, Henry. It was like as the energy showed up, I recognized them. They were pouring so much information into me that I remember in one moment, I'm like, I'm not going to remember all of this. They were showing me things about my life. They came to my present life and told me that they were proud of me and gave me encouraging messages and told me who I was and what my assignment was, and that I was doing a good job, and that I had really been investing in myself here lately, and they're very, very proud of me. Some distant relatives were there. Some relatives I've never met before. I remember just recently I heard that my grandmother was a twin. My grandmother's name was Bessie, and she had a twin named Betty. I just learned this information like a year ago. But they were there. Betty was there. I never thought I would even run into her in my wildest dreams of me thinking I would go to that side. But both sides of my grandparents were there. My mom was there. My brother was there. There's a moment where a surprise person showed up, and I realized how important she was to this ancestral healing that's going on with me and through me with the aid and for my ancestors and for the generations to come. That's why this medicine is so important. So as I'm in this dimension, and it's definitely a dimension, even though my body's physically here, this wasn't what do they call it? I wasn't imagining this. Hallucinogens. This wasn't this. This was totally somewhere else. Totally somewhere else. So my ancestors steady talking to me, and they asked me, they said, are you ready to heal? And here's the thing, this is why the God is so important, because just as my ancestor said that, my shaman, right in tune with what was going on, she says, LaShonda, okay, you're reaching your peak. In about 5 minutes, you're going to peak. Right at that moment, right after she says that, everything gets really weird. Everything goes dark again, and it's just colors everywhere. And then there were images that would come, and then they would turn into blocks, and they would blow away. And then there were images that would come, and they would turn to blocks, and they would blow away. And then it was totally black. And then again, I'm in this room of blackness, and then it's a woman, and she says, do you know who you are now? And I said, yes. And she says, do you really know who you are now? She says, yes. She said, well, what do you want? And I don't really remember what I said, but I responded to her. She said, well, create it. And I said, well, right now I want an orange. And she said, well, create it. And I said, create it. I kind of laughed. And then all of a sudden, the orange materialized. And then she said, yes, create it. Create your own. And somehow, unknowingly, just thinking it, I created an orange. And she said, there, you have it. And then she wiped them both away. And she said, now create something else. So we went through this exercise like 3 times where it was just little things that I was creating. And she wiped it away. And then she took me back to some scenes of seeing some things with my life and with everything. She was giving me explanations and lessons. She was showing me things in the universe. Like, I can't even consciously remember how much stuff this woman was showing me. I remember she kept zooming into my face, and she would zoom out and ask me a question, and then she would take me somewhere and she would explain it, and then she would ask me, did I get it? And then she would ask me, well, what did you get? And I would respond. And if my respond was, I don't know, I guess wrong or not on point enough for her, she wouldn't respond. But when I said the right thing, she would encourage me and tell me, yes, you got it. And then we move on to the next thing. It's like she was taking me through different levels of learning things. And so it was a moment where we were walking through a grass field, and it was like, although I was myself, I was watching myself. And she says to me, she says, you've learned a lot here. And she said, but we have a lot more to do. Are you ready to go deeper? And I said, yes, I'm ready to go deeper. So I remember I opened my eyes at that moment, and everything looked kind of weird. And I closed my eyes again. And I'm just wondering, like, I don't know how much time has went past, but I know at this point I'm hearing all type of noise, but it's real noise in this world. Like, I'm hearing the activity in the house, my alarm going off. Everything's going so busy, and she's like, you choose to be aggravated by these things. And I'm like, huh? And she starts showing me all these images and all these memories, but as she's showing them to me, I had to laugh, and I'm like, wow, I am freaking crazy. I'm nuts. Like, I react like this to stuff, and it's like I just start laughing uncontrollably again. And it was like I wasn't even laughing because anything was funny. It was like just the feeling was making me laugh, and I began to realize, like, life is not this serious. Like, everything is a choice. And she, when I said that, she said, you got it. She said, that's it. And then she started showing me all these different images of the world and all these different things and concepts that we believe in. And they all were so silly when she presented them and wiped them away. And I just found myself laughing so hard. Like, my God, humans are so silly. You know, she said, hold on, it's time to purge. Now, this is again why the shaman is so perfect, because she's aligned with everything that's going on, although she doesn't know all this is going on inside of me. she says, okay, it's time to, what was the word she used? I think she said, she might have said it's time to purge. I'm not sure, but she said something to that likeness. And right when she said that, the woman went away and my ancestors showed up again. And they said, are you ready? And I said, yes. And it was like I kind of felt like I was bracing myself. And all of a sudden, this huge surge of emotion came over me. Now, it wasn't scary, but it was overwhelming, but it was like you knew something was about to, I knew something was about to happen. It was like having a baby, you know. Now, it wasn't as painful as having a baby, but I'm saying, you know, all of this might be something uncomfortable, but what you're expecting from this is about to be so great. And I didn't even really know what to expect, but it was like all of a sudden, it was a pull to my left. My body, not on my physical body, but like my energy strongly pulled to the left. And then she was like, you have to relax. And I relaxed, and as soon as I relaxed, it let go. And then it was the right side. It was a strong pull to the right, and I immediately relaxed with that one, and then it let go. And then something like, I remember I felt overwhelmed, and I kind of buckled in my stomach area, and I started spitting a little bit. It was like something was coming up out of me, but the spit wasn't really, I didn't throw up. It was just a lot of spit. And I remember I had a huge candle sitting there, and I grabbed it and started spitting in the candle. The candle wasn't lit. It was just sitting there. And all of a sudden, all my ancestors surrounded me again, and they were like singing to me and encouraging me and drumming and chanting. And it was just so like a campfire scene. And I was like, but it was like I was the campfire almost, and they were all around me. And all of a sudden, I belted out, Jenny, we've been looking for you for so long. And I just start crying, and all the ancestors saying, yes, yes. They start celebrating Jenny coming back. And it's like, almost like I was hugging Jenny, and we were all hugging Jenny. And it's like, but Jenny was an aspect of me. See, the one important thing you have to know about this experience, and what I have to explain about this experience, is though all these ancestors were there, they were all aspects of me. You know, and you are your ancestors, and your ancestors are you. They literally were different pieces of me fragmented out. So this aspect of Jenny is somebody who's been needing to be healed for a long time. I came in here with that energy. When you understand epigenetics, and you understand how genetic coding is passed down generations, and when you know who Jenny was my mother's biological mother, which means that when my mother was in Jenny's womb, I was in my mother's womb. So Jenny is directly connected to me when you think about just the ancestry of it all. But Jenny was an important component, because once we got a hold of Jenny, we celebrated, we cried, but it wasn't a sad cry. It was a cleansing, happy, like I finally found my missing child type of cry. And then all of a sudden, everything started turning to different images again. And then I was so happy and overwhelmed, like, wow, this is really happening. And I thought, like, wow, this is so deep. And then it wasn't over. She said that to me. She said, it's not over. Now you got to face them. And when she said face them, I seen aspects of myself. But they were literally like labeled almost. It was like it was a shy one. It was a moody one. It was an angry one. It was a hurt one. It was a bitter one. And it's like, and again, the shaman, she's right there, like she knew this moment was coming. She said, LaShonda, you got to do it. She said, keep going. You got to purge it. Let it out. And the next thing I know, I just started confronting them, and I said, you have to go. I don't need you anymore. I don't need you anymore. My ancestors are here with me. Shyness, you got to go. I didn't really call them out by name, but I was like telepathically talking to them like, you got to go, you got to go. And it's like with no resistance, boom, 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 they start disappearing, and I felt empty. I felt so empty. And then I start crying again because my revelation at that moment is that in this world we get taught that empty is a bad thing, and we constantly keep looking for things to fill ourselves up. But at that moment I felt empty, and I remember belting out at that moment like, oh my God, there's so much space. And then I started crying again because I realized I'm feeling something I've never, ever in my life felt. I have memories from very early on. I have memories from when I was 2 that my mother, when she was living, verified are true memories. And even at 2, I didn't feel this. I felt so empty. And I just sat there and enjoyed that space, and I was just breathing, and the woman was there. She was there, my ancestors were there, and they were just encouraging me. And then it just turned to chatter, and we were just talking then. My brother, came and reminded me of some dreams and let me know they really were visitations. My papa came, and Henry, he came and told me his favorite memory with me, and it was so amazing because that really is a real memory I think about all the time. And so when he showed me this memory, he said, I want you to hold this and keep this. This is our memory. And when he showed me what it was, I just broke down again. My mother was there, and I'm looking at my brother, and I'm looking at everybody, and I'm like, oh my God, I never thought. I heard people talk about this. You hope that it's real. It's totally something that I can't even think of how to describe it, how wonderful it is, more than what I've already told you it was. It was even to the extent my ancestors knew how I was, and they got to the end, and they're like, okay, you have to go back now. And I'm kind of laughing. They like, yeah, we know you like it here. We know you're going to want to stay, but you got to go back. You got to promise us that you're going to do. And they gave me some gifts, and they gave me some promises, and they empowered me with some things. Like I said, it's a whole bunch more than that I can't even, some I can't remember, some comes in bits and pieces. Some are things that they just told me is in me and is programmed in me. One of the things I want to say is, since the experience, when you come out of an experience like that, you can never be the same. I mean, it's so much peace there, so much creativity there. It's so much love there. I've heard of people taking these trips and having bad experiences, but I have to question what's going on inside of that person, and I ask that they seek the more basic level of healing before they attempt to do this. But I always have a shaman with you, a spiritually endowed person with the gifts to be able to guide you through this. But I came out of it feeling so detoxed. I came out of it in love with life. I just really wanted to call everybody and tell them that I loved them after it was over. It's like the only reason that I didn't was because you're just still kind of integrating back into the world. And while I was laying there integrating, the only thing I was thinking is, it's no sense in calling them and telling them how much you love them. Become love, so that every time they encounter you, they experience love. It's like I highly doubt I even debate anything with anybody anymore about religion or what the truth is, because after an experience like that, I understand why everybody is so confused, because you can't see the truth until you have an experience like that. And one of the most beautiful things, and why I say from this experience, I died and met God, who is a woman, and I came back because it was a death. I got the chance to die and see what's on the other side, and see that none of this matters while everything matters, and the type of person that I have to be in the earth to be effective, to be clean, to be whole. I want everybody to feel this. I mean, I can't wait to take off with my meditation business, because now I'm ready to even go even deeper and help people reach deeper levels of healing in their subconscious levels, and hopefully can lead some people to this type of healing too, those who are brave enough, because it takes work. It wasn't anything painful. It was very educational. She should be called a teacher. It was very loving. It was like a loving conversation. It's like that adult conversation you have with your mother. You get in trouble for things when you were a child, but when you have a good relationship with your mom, y'all sit down and y'all talk about things, and even some things you did in the past, y'all have mature conversation. It's like that type of experience. Would I ever do it again? Hell yes. Am I going to do it again? Oh yeah. Am I going to do it anytime soon? No. I don't find it necessary. This medicine has already done so much for me in the last couple of days. I'll tell y'all more about the journey and about the effects that it's having. It's definitely, my mind feels clear. My body feels clear. I did have a purge of bumps on my face after. Um, I don't know. I just feel totally at peace. I wish everybody could feel this type of peace. Is soon because my mouth is getting dry. Hours let me see that I have made some level of communication, but nothing like that. Do I wish that my mother and my brother were still here amongst my life experience? Yes. But after that experience, I definitely no longer fear death. I definitely no longer grieve them being gone. And I don't want to get there permanently too soon, but I'm not afraid to be there, and I'm not afraid to live here anymore. I know how I want to live here now based on that experience. So, namaste. I wish that everybody can one day meet this experience, especially black people and the black woman. We have to clean our genes out, especially the black woman. This will totally reset you to be the most empowered queen. Wait till y'all see me take off. Wait till y'all see me take off. Y'all gonna want some of this, and I'm gonna show y'all how to get it. Hopefully y'all can get the plant medicine one day too, but I have other healing modalities that I know are gonna make you become the type of person that is prepared for that plant medicine, because there is some work I had to do to even get prepared for the plant medicine. It's called brain balancing. But okay, peace and love. Thank you for sharing this experience with me. Until next time, goodbye.